Hey guys, Dwayne Huff, founder and creator of Band Leadership Seminars and Band Leadership Online. And in this video, we're going to start really from the beginning. I'm shooting this in early February, February 2nd, 2018. No matter when you're watching this, I want to share in this video probably the foundation and the most important thing that you can do if you're going to be a returning leader to your marching band during marching band season, or you're an aspiring leader who's hoping to be chosen as a drum major or a section leader, band council, whatever the case might be, or if you're returning to do this again and you want to make it a better run. And I'm going to lay the foundation today in this video and in the next video about how to do that super effectively, keeping in mind that leadership is not just a seasonal thing. It's not just when marching band happens or when it comes up. You should be planting the seeds and laying the foundation for your leadership effectiveness and influence starting right now if you haven't been doing that since the end of marching band season. And I know many times we can, and I'm guilty of it too, we can let our guard down and we can forget that what we're doing is long game, and it takes a long time of nurturing trust and building relationships and connections to be effective at being a leader. But it's never too late to start. Trust me, I've made tons of mistakes. If you've watched some of my past videos, you know that about 90% of what I did as a student leader was ineffective, was wrong, and I lucked out to get about 10% right. But I took that experience from being a drum major of 5 different organizations and a student leader, the vice president of my band fraternity, Kappa Kappa Psi, and I took that experience and a desire to want to come back and help you guys be more successful than I was as a student leader and take out some of the mystery and the pitfalls to make your life a whole lot easier. So without further ado, let's jump in, because in this video and the next video, what we're going to talk about is leadership and relationships. Because guys, honestly, the foundation of what we do as student leaders is make connections, build relationships of trust with our peers so that they will follow us. You know, and what I'm really going to focus on is servant leadership throughout the course, as opposed to being a dictatorial or authoritarian leader, to be a servant leader, which means everybody that we serve, it's all about them, it's never about us. But the reward we get as servant leaders is to see the satisfaction of the entire band, of the entire team, go to the next level, win competitions, and be the very best that they can. And so I want to help you to do that by laying this foundation. And at the beginning of this foundation of your leadership is the connections, the bonds, the trust, and the relationships that you build with not just the rest of your leaders and your band director, but every single person in the band, from the very new freshmen who come into the band, to the sophomores, the juniors, and the seniors, who can probably be some of the most difficult at times because they're on that journey to graduation. And if you're not there yet, you don't know what it's like, but you'll see it very soon. That senioritis sets in, and many times they fall into the trap of having senioritis and phoning it in and not bringing their A game to every situation. So how do you influence that, and how do you make a difference in your band program so y'all can be the best possible? But also the things I'm going to share with you, whether it matters to you or now or not, is not only going to serve you in band, but it will serve you throughout your high school experience. It'll serve you in your classes. It'll serve you at home. It'll serve you with your siblings and your parents. But then it's going to serve you whenever you graduate and go to college. And it'll also serve you for the rest of your life. So your band directors do absolutely amazing work in the fact that they teach you music, but they also teach you life skills, responsibilities, how to function, how to do things a notch above everyone else, how to be more effective, how to be more productive. And if you take all those things and you apply what you're learning, it's going to transcend everything in your life. And I know right now, as a teenager, that might not make a big difference to you, but I promise you the things that you're getting now are going to serve you forever. I know that because my mentor, Dr. Tim Lotzenheiser, who's still out there today, he's a legend in the space. If you ever get a chance to see Dr. Tim, please go see him. He's amazing. And the late, great George Parks, founder of Drum Major Academy, who really spoke into my life, and I want to share some things. But I look back and I see what they taught me, and I look at my life now and every step along the way. And if it hadn't been for the foundation that I got in team, in band, in leadership, in communication, and some of the things I'm going to share with you today, I wouldn't have been as successful in my life as I wouldn't have been as successful in my life if I hadn't had that information. So I want to share this with you, pass it along, start serving you right now, because if you're watching this immediately, it's the beginning of the year, you have a big runway to make this happen, and I want to give you the tools necessary. And if you hear some noise in the background here, I'm at my house in my home office, and my wife is cooking. You might hear some bubbling going on from the stove, so my apologies in advance. But this is real time, and it's not edited, and it's going to be raw, and I'm just going to share with you as much as I possibly can. So, again, a foundation in leadership and relationships. You know, I had a band director not long ago, this past summer actually, tell me, he said, Dwayne, you know, we enjoyed your program when you came out to work with us live. He says, but I wanted my students to have some more concrete leadership skills. And it stung a little bit at first, because I felt like I was delivering concrete leadership skills, and I think I was. But when people get just a ton of information, when I go out live, I spend about 8 hours with a band program, and I just don't teach and rah-rah. We actually get in there and we work on it. And he had to duck out of the band room a few times, so he may have missed a couple of things. But I want to share with you what I believe he missed as concrete leadership skills, because he was like, Dwayne, we need to teach our leaders, whether they're brand new or returning, how to connect with even the newest person in the band, or somebody they've seen for the last few years and really haven't had a major connection with, because we need to be able to get them to connect, build relationships so that trust happens, so they can be more effective as leaders. And I want to show you exactly how to do that. I shared this during that session, but I think he may have bowed out and not seen this. And this is not only for you, but it's for your band director, and it's for all of the people. This will serve all of you. So learn it, do it, and then go out and teach it to someone else and pass the torch of how to be an effective connector and a communicator and a leader. So here we go. Here's you. As the leader. And let me just say this, and I'll say it time and time again, even if you don't have a title, section leader, drum major, band captain, band council, even if you don't have. In fact, if you want to know how effective you are as a leader, go and volunteer somewhere where you don't have a title outside a band, and test your leadership ability there. Because if you don't have a title and people don't feel like they have to follow you, but they choose to follow you, you know you're an effective leader. So even if you do have a title, go serve somewhere else, volunteer somewhere else, and see how your leadership skills develop and grow, and use some of the stuff we're going to talk about. But let's say that this is you, the leader. And there's somebody in the band, either somebody that's brand new as a freshman or somebody that's returning, junior, sophomore, senior, and you really just haven't established a connection, a relationship, or a bond. They're kind of foreign. You know who they are, they know who you are, but y'all haven't really connected. And it might be because you see things differently. It might be because you're scared to talk to them, or they may be nervous to talk to you. You know, it's the funniest thing, and I want to say this. Many times we can perceive people to be arrogant, stuck up, judgmental, a variety of things, because they're to themselves, they're quiet, or they wear a stern look on their face, or they'll talk to other people and get all lit up because that's in their comfort zone. But what you come to realize is that they're just shy and introverted, and it takes you reaching out. You know, if you haven't seen the first 3 videos in my leadership series, go to my website, bandleadershipseminars.com, put your name and email address. It will send you my first 3 videos. In that very first video, we talk about the 4 different personality styles or behavioral styles. It shows you who you are, it shows you who they are, and you may see that the Theodores of the world can be very comfortable and outgoing and open up to the people that they trust, know, and like, but when it comes to people they're not comfortable with, they shut down and they go very stoic. And sometimes we can perceive that as arrogant or stuck up. But whenever we reach out and we connect with them, all of a sudden we see a brand new person. And that's what this is all about. Because whether you're dealing with a dominant type personality, or a more analytical type personality, or an outgoing personality, or a shy personality, you need to know how to be able to adjust yourself to reach out where they are. So I'm going to trust that you've watched that, and if you haven't, request those videos, get your band director to request those videos, or go back and watch it, because that lays a foundation for what we're going to talk about. So let's assume that you're the leader, and this is the, I'll say, new, and that's a new connection that you need to make, or it's a new band member. Because as leaders, we're charged with doing the uncomfortable that most people will not do. It's easy to go and hang out in cliques. and hang out with our friends and our family and people that we know and that we're comfortable and safe around. In fact, you're going to find that as you grow up and become an adult, it becomes harder and harder to make friends if you just let it go than it is where you are right now. The older you get, the harder it becomes, unless you have the skills we're going to talk about and you take the initiative. There's going to come a time where it's going to be very uncomfortable to connect with the people around you because the fear factor, the rejection factor, the judgment factor. And I know right now as teenagers you're dealing with that right now and you think it couldn't get any worse, but let me tell you, if you take that factor, one thing you're going to take away is the consistent judgment or perceived judgment that you have in the 4 high school walls. That will go away eventually, but what you're going to find, especially work in a company, is that it surfaces. Again, I submit to you and I tell people all the time, when you grow up, you're going to realize that there ain't nothing but a bunch of grown-up children walking around on the face of this planet. And I'm talking junior high school stuff, right? But as leaders, we're called to break through those walls, to diffuse those walls, to lower those walls, and to be the person who does reach out, who does trust, who does give without any expectation of anything in return. And by serving, the reward and the benefit comes back to us many times. But that's difficult, and that's what I want to talk about. How do we do that? How do we connect with complete strangers? How do we connect with people, build relationships of trust with people that we don't know? And as leaders, maybe people that we don't like, or maybe people that aren't popular, or maybe people that if we hung out with would bruise our popularity or our relationships. See, one of the things that we have to do as leaders, we have to let that go, man. We got to step up to a different level that says, you know what, I am going to value every person, not just the people that I'm comfortable with, not just the people that look cool, not just the people that smell good, not just the people that are rich or have rich parents, but the people who other people don't necessarily gravitate towards. Maybe some of the people who are awkward, or some of the people who are shy, or some of the people who are come across as maybe a little bit different than us. Maybe we're band people and we don't necessarily relate as well as we could with the athletic people. Or there's science and math people who tend to be a little bit more on the intellectual side. You know, back in my day we would say a little bit on the geeky side or the nerdy side, but then I realized that as a band person that they kind of looked at me that way. So, and I'm not saying that we judge people here, but you know what I'm talking about. We tend to put labels on people. And one of the things we have to let go of as leaders is putting labels on people. And if we've put labels on people, we have to take those labels off. We cannot prejudge. We cannot assume. We have to go at each person with the same respect, trust, and consideration and respect that we would for anybody. And that's hard to do. But as leaders, as servant leaders, it's one of the things we're called to. So here's how we do that effectively. The first thing we need to do is realize that we have to set our own agenda, our own needs, our own wants, our own expectations. We have to put those aside. And we have to fully 100% become present, just like I am with you right now, with the people that we're talking to. And then we have to step across this great divide right here. And that great divide can be as close as I am to you, or it can be completely across the room, or it can be completely across campus. But we have to take the initiative to step across that divide. Leave our comfort zone, go to theirs, and connect with them. Put our agenda aside, be fully present, and want to know 100% in a genuine way what makes them tick, what they need, what they want, what they desire, especially when it comes to their experience in the marching band. So, here's what I want you to understand whenever you're talking with any other person. It's true for you, it's true for your band director, it's true for every other leader, but it's true for every person you'll ever interact with. There's 3 things that they have going through their mind about any given experience. So, especially in band, the reason they showed up to band, let's talk about that for a second. And that's the primary reason you're trying to connect with them anyway. But many times you're going to have to connect with them outside of band. But there's 3 things that are going on with that person, just like there are with you. And here they are. The first one is the why. More specifically, why are they there? Why did they show up? Why are they in band? Because they're in band because they need, because they want, and because they expect something, some experience. For some people, it's relationship. For some people, it's fun. For some people, it's the music. For some people, it's just the instrument. I didn't want to be in band, but I loved my saxophone. And so that put me in band. That was my reason why. But when I got in band, I realized there were relationships. There was fun. There was pizza. There were band trips. All these things that I did not know about. But it's my reason why. The love for the saxophone that put me there. And our first job is to understand not our why, but their why. As servant leaders, we need to put our agenda aside and understand their why. Second thing is what? What are they willing to give? What are they willing to take? What are they willing to ask for? What are they willing to sacrifice in order to get the experience they need, want, and expect from band? Here's what I mean by that. One of the most precious, the most precious commodity we have in our lives is time. We never get it back. We can never get it back. It comes and goes. And one of the most precious things that we can invest in people or in situations or activities is our time. So one of the things they're willing to give up or give to be in band is their time. So we have to respect that time and help them use that time to get everything they want, need, and expect from that experience. That's part of our roles as servant leaders. But we have to know what it is they want, need, and expect, what they're willing to give, what they're willing to sacrifice. And once we build a connection and relationship and listen to them and paid attention to them, which I'm going to get into in the next video, is we start to understand. We pay attention to what they talk about, what they gripe about, where they spend their time outside of band, where they spend their money, where they spend their attention, what they enjoy, what they're passionate about, what they steer away from. This gives us insight and clue into what it is they're willing to give and take. And then the better the relationship, the more we can just be very upfront and honest and say, what do you want? What do you need? What do you expect? And that's the magic question. Unfortunately, if we don't have a relationship, that's a very difficult conversation to have. So how do we do that? And we'll get into that in just a moment. The third thing is this. How? They, just like you, come into any given situation perceiving things working a certain way or seeing things work out a certain way. It's how we see it, right? I mean, think about the last time you went into algebra class and you walked into the door. What were your expectations? If you'd been in algebra class before, you had a certain thought process and a certain expectation of how things were going to play out throughout that class. But when you got there, did you ever walk into a pop quiz? Did you ever walk into a test that you forgot was coming? Did you walk into a substitute teacher? Or did you walk into a situation where the teacher was like, you know what, today class, we're just going to take it in a different direction? Either way, all of a sudden your expectations, how you saw it playing out, was interrupted. The challenge is that whenever we put this on the other person, is that if their expectations, what they want, what they need, what they expect, is met, then it's in line and everything flows smoothly. But the moment that pattern is interrupted, or they don't get what they need, what they want, or they expect it, on some level there's discomfort. And it can go from a little frustration all the way up to full out ready to bail. And as leaders, it's important that we understand how they see it playing out, and relationship helps us to unstick that, and I'll show you how to do that as we go. But just remember, in any given person that you're connecting with, there's a way, there's a why, there's a reason that they showed up, there's a specific reason why they're giving their time to this band activity. It could be their horn, it could be music, it could be friends, it could be connection. There's what they're willing to give and take in order to get what they need, what they want, and they expect. And then there's how they kind of see it playing out. I'll give you an example on the how. Before I stepped into marching band, I had no idea what marching bands did. I had spent 3 years in junior high school playing my horn, developing and growing, and loved it. But honestly, whenever I got thrown into marching band in South Louisiana in the blazing heat after it rained for a week, all of a sudden, how I saw things playing out were in complete violation of what I expected from band. And as a result, I almost quit. And it was the nurturing of servant leaders in the band and connection and trust that pulled me back in, because they understood what I needed, what I wanted and expected. And they helped talk me back off the ledge, if you will, from quitting band, because they understood why I was there and what I was willing to give and what I wasn't willing to give. And we have to understand that about any person that we would cross the gap or that chasm to be able to connect with. So how do you do that? Once you've made the journey across there, how do you find this stuff out authentically, genuinely, without being weird, without it being awkward, without the conversation coming to a screeching halt? Well, there's a couple of things that I want you to keep in your back pocket as you connect with other people. Connecting in and of itself can be a challenge unless you remember these three things. Remember that people like to talk basically about three things. Family, whether it's siblings, whether it's baby brothers and sisters, whether it's their parents or their cousins, there's some form of their family that they do like to open up with and share. But many times, depending on who they are, it's going to take you sharing a little bit with them before they'll open up and share with you. So family is a good topic of conversation. However, if you start out a conversation about family and it doesn't go the direction you want, have no fear. You can always take it to. This would be occupation, but what we'll call this is band. Band is always, I'm just giving you an acronym. The acronym is for family, occupation, and recreation, but it could be band. When you talk to people about why they're in band, what they love most about it, how they get involved in band, what's their favorite instrument, do they plan on playing any other instruments, things of that nature, that's a very easy conversation to have, so it's a great way to start the relationship and the connection. The last thing is this. Recreation or fun. What do they do outside of band for fun? And they may tell you there's nothing else they do. Band is why they come for fun, but guess what? You just figured out why they come to band. So these are three safe areas that you can spend time talking about and making a connection, especially with a complete stranger, that could open the conversation and dialogue, and before you know it, you're connecting. You're seeing similarities, right? And again, if they don't want to open up and share, take that as a clue to share a little bit about yourself first, and then they may open up. There's a great game that you can play. We do it in my online course and in live events. It's called Common Connections. And so basically so to make everybody comfortable, you can play this with the entire band, break everybody up into like teams of 4 or 5, have them all sit around in a circle facing each other with a piece of paper and a pen or paper, and then give them these instructions and write them up on the board. Say, hey guys, I'm going to give you the next 15 minutes, and what I'd like you to do is make a connection with each individual in your team or in your circle. And here's what I want you to find out. Number one, I want you to make connections, common connections that are three things. Number one, they need to be unique, which means that each person has to have a unique connection with each person in their circle. So what I mean is, this person and this person's connection cannot be the same connection as this person and this person's, which can also not be the same between these two people or these two people. So everybody has to make a unique connection. That number two has to be interesting, and number three, surprising. So unique, interesting, and surprising. And then don't give them any other instructions. Say you got 15 minutes, go. And what it does in a very natural and comfortable way, the more outgoing people will start the conversation, asking questions, sharing thoughts, getting people to speak up, and the more quiet people will sit there and wait. But what I just showed you will absolutely prove true. That they will start opening up, making connections, laughing, giggling, saying, oh my gosh, me too. And you've just put them in a very safe environment to open up. But then, whenever all is said and done, go around the room and say, okay guys, I want to know who has the most unique connection. Now, be ready. Like with any teenage group, this can go in many different directions, so be careful and be ready to manage it. And then, who has the most surprising? Who has the most interesting? And just let it go, because you'll see people start to open up. But the most important thing I want you to take into consideration is take note mentally of what you hear come out of the room, because it's your clue that's going to give you the open door to connect with a completely different person, because you'll hear them say something like, Sally and I were both born in South Carolina and now we're in California. That's an open conversation that you as a leader can have with somebody new, to be able to walk up to them one day and say, hey, I remember you saying you were from South Carolina. Tell me about South Carolina. Always wanted to go there, never been. What's the thing to do? And then just be quiet. Because when you talk to somebody about their hometown or their family or something, a place of origin, it's nostalgic and they want to go back and they'll share everything you want to know. but it's your opportunity to connect. So play that game with your entire band. A couple other things that you can ask people about as you build relationship are, what are some of their strengths? Other than music, what do they excel at? What are their talents? Interest. Needs. Or even you can take it to a place of gifts. All right? So those are just some conversation starters to make it easy to go up to a complete stranger, and an activity to pull a group of complete strangers. A great thing to play on your first day of band camp. And in fact, it's a game you guys can play right now, and you'll be surprised. You spent all year together so far since marching band season, you don't know these things about each other. Connections will be made that have never been made before. And you will be the facilitator of that, the leader, the servant leader, which makes you the absolute hero, and the reward will be great. But it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about them. This is all part of serving. So start these conversations, and one way to make these conversations go is to know how to approach them without being awkward. So I'm going to shut this video down right now. Be sure you stay tuned for the next video. But before I go, there's a couple of resources I want you to know about. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because if you miss these videos, I'll post them there. And if you have any questions, comments or anything like that, you'll see people are commenting, questioning all the time. Don't hesitate, feel free to do that. But subscribe and share that channel with your friends. YouTube.com/band leadership. My like page on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, Facebook.com/band leadership. There's over 2,500 people there that have liked the page, that comment, that question, and do all that kind of stuff. Connect with those people. Ask me your questions there. If you haven't done so already, bandleadership.com. Is a place where you can connect with me, request those free training videos that I told you about, make sure you're on the email list. And if you guys are having band camp or preparing yourself for leadership, tell your band director, if you're not the band director watching. I do live events between April and July, but I only do 20 of them a year. So reach out to me if you'd like me to come in and work with you and do some training and developing live. You can get me on my website, or there's an online program where I do 8 hours of training just like this. I went and did a live event in California, and then I came into the studio and did some direct-to-camera video to supplement that, and it will really take you from the beginning to all you really need to know about being effective as leaders. And I used to sell that for $497 a year, which I still do, but I just added this year the ability to pay $47 a month. So if you guys wanted to get in there for a month, learn all the stuff, and then cancel your membership, no worries, do that. Or if you just want to go month to month until you're tired of using it, you can do that as well. So those are the resources. But at the end of the day, share this video with others you believe this can serve. Help me spread the word, get the word out, because I'm here to serve you guys. Until we talk again in the next video, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.